Mid-July 1683. Outside the walls of Vienna, Kara Mustafa Pasha stood at the entrance to his tent. Before him, a dream stretched to the horizon. Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire. He was about to achieve what even Suleiman the Magnificent had failed to accomplish. Take Vienna, and the gates of Europe swing open. He was certain of it. An army estimated at over 100,000 strong. A formidable artillery corps. No city in Europe could withstand this force. Then, atop the city walls, another man gazed upon the same scene. Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg, commander of the Vienna garrison. Under his command stood a defending force of roughly 10 to several tens of thousands. Against them, an Ottoman army exceeding 100,000. Starhemberg gripped the edge of the parapet. His knuckles turned white. What was he thinking in that moment? The records tell us he showed no fear on his face, because the moment he showed fear, everything would be lost. There were things worth defending. Families, a city, a civilization, all of it here. Hold the walls. The relief army will come. But how long before that relief would arrive? He didn't know. The siege began. The Ottomans did not choose a frontal assault. They chose to dig. Tunnels beneath the city walls, packed with gunpowder. The defenders did not simply wait. They dug counter-tunnels, racing to prevent the detonations. But then, boom! Every time the walls shuddered, the city trembled with them. The garrison could not sleep. No one knew when the ground beneath their feet might explode. 2 months passed. Food was running low. Ammunition was running low. And above all, men were running low. Every morning, Starhemberg walked the walls. He spoke to his soldiers. We can still hold. The relief army is coming. But behind his eyes, a different calculation was running. How many days could they last? Late August. Starhemberg stared at the report before him. The numbers told him the truth. Food supplies. 2 weeks remaining. Ammunition. 10 days at maximum conservation. Sick and wounded. 30% of total strength. He closed his eyes. Would the relief come? Would it truly come? Emperor Leopold I had fled Vienna around the time of the siege, withdrawing toward Linz. The nobles had fled too. What remained was the garrison and the citizens who had nowhere to run. If relief never came, this city would end. But surrender was not an option he could choose. Because he understood. If this city fell, the balance of power across Central Europe would be transformed at its foundations. Early September. The slopes of Kahlenberg. Jan III Sobieski, King of Poland, stood here at the head of a coalition army. 54 years old. Heavy of frame, suffering from arthritis. But his eyes were sharp as a hawk's. The sight stretching below him was overwhelming. A sea of white tents, the great host of the Ottoman Empire. And at the center of that encirclement, Vienna. Smoke was rising. A section of the walls had crumbled. But the flag still stood. With Sobieski in overall command, a coalition of roughly 70,000 had assembled Polish forces and the armies of the imperial princes. The Elector of Bavaria, the Elector of Saxony, the Duke of Lorraine, the princes of Europe, united for a single purpose. Sobieski murmured, "We are in time." The victory would be reported to the Pope himself, and words echoing the spirit of, "We came, we saw, and God granted us the victory," would pass into legend. The next morning, the decisive battle would begin. Late night, September 11th. The War Council. Sobieski stood before the map. At dawn, we launched the full assault. His voice was calm, yet the tension inside the tent was something you could almost touch. Behind his eyes, the calculations were turning. The coalition numbered around 70,000. The enemy exceeded 100,000. A frontal charge would lose on numbers alone. But terrain was on their side. The slopes of Kahlenberg, a charge from the high ground. And above all else, they had the cavalry. Sobieski placed his finger on one point of the map, the summit of Kahlenberg. The cavalry descends from here. September 12th. Before dawn, they had gathered at the summit of Kahlenberg. 20,000 coalition cavalry in total. At their vanguard, roughly 3,000 elite hussars. The winged heavy cavalry of Poland. Upon their backs rose enormous wing structures. Crafted from eagle feathers and wooden frames, those wings were said to strike psychological terror into the enemy through sheer visual dominance. With every step the horses took, white breath dissolved into the night air. They said nothing. Torchlight played across the armor. One soldier reached up and touched his wing frame. To him, it was a talisman. Somewhere in the darkness below, Vienna. The sun was beginning to rise. Sobieski was inside the chapel. He knelt in his full armor. He closed his eyes. He prayed. Before coming to this place, he had written to his wife, Maria Kazimiera. "My dearest wife, I go now to fight God's battle." This 54-year-old king was, in the end, simply a husband, a father, a man. But today, he carried the fate of Europe on his shoulders. There was no guarantee he would return when the fighting was done. An enemy exceeding 100,000. The advantage of terrain was the only weapon a coalition of roughly 70,000 possessed. In all likelihood, he was afraid. But his sense of mission was stronger than the fear. He rose to his feet. His armor gave a dull ring. "Let us go." Morning. The attack began. The infantry descended first, down the mountain slopes, threading through the trees. The Bavarians, the Saxons, the Austrians, the Polish infantry. Gunfire tore through the morning air. The Ottomans fought back. They were experienced. 2 months of siege warfare had sharpened their instincts. Mustafa had not entirely failed to anticipate an attack from the mountains, but he faced a choice: continue pressing the assault on Vienna, or commit everything to stopping the relief force. He made the wrong call. In that moment, 2 voices were warring inside Mustafa's mind. The first voice: turn everything against the enemy on the mountain. Break the siege if you must, but stop them. The second voice: Vienna is at her limit. Strike now and she falls. Take the city before the relief army reaches her. He chose the second voice. He ordered the full assault on Vienna to continue, while also sending forces to meet the relief army. He divided his strength in 2. It was a fatal decision. The records tell us Mustafa's staff officers objected. Grand Vizier, splitting our forces is dangerous. But Mustafa did not listen. For 2 months, a city he had believed was on the verge of falling had been within his grasp. He could not let it go. Evening. Sobieski mounted his white horse. Below him stretched the Ottoman encampment. But after 2 months of siege, exhausted and now pulled in 2 directions, the camp before him was a shadow of what it had been that morning. This was the moment. Sobieski drew his sword. He raised it high. Behind him, 20,000 cavalrymen began to move. The hussar wing frame swayed in the evening wind. The feathers caught the light. And then, 20,000 horses began to run all at once. 20,000 horses thundered across the earth. The sound was like a crack of lightning. The hussar wings blazed in the evening light as they bore down. That unearthly sight and the drumming of 10,000 hooves planted the premonition of death in the enemy's hearts. The Ottoman soldiers turned, and they saw the horizon was moving. A golden tide was crashing toward them. 20,000 cavalry. The records tell us the Ottoman front lines began to break in that very instant. Without waiting for orders, all discipline lost. Human instinct took command of everything. Run. 20,000 riders drove into the heart of the encampment. The greatest cavalry charge in history. The Ottoman army broke. An army of over 100,000 broke. Discipline vanished. The chain of command vanished. What remained was only the will to survive. Inside his tent, Kara Mustafa understood what had happened. He fled. 150 years of Ottoman westward expansion. That dream, in this moment, was extinguished. And on the walls of Vienna, Starhemberg watched. The siege was dissolving. Beyond the walls he had defended for 2 months. He cried out. His soldiers cried out. The city was alive. That night, Sobieski entered through the gates of Vienna. Starhemberg came to meet him. The man who had held this fortress for 2 months. Their hands met. No words were needed. The Ottoman army fled south, fled east, simply ran. They abandoned their equipment along the way. Abandoned their tents. Abandoned their food. Kara Mustafa was executed at Belgrade by order of the Sultan before the year was out, following the retreat. The Ottoman Empire had no mercy for a general who failed. And Sobieski, in his report of victory to the Pope, left behind the words of a hero. September 12, 1683. After this day, the Ottoman Empire never threatened Vienna again. The westward advance of an empire that had terrified Europe for 150 years ended on the slopes of Kahlenberg. Historians say it plainly. If Vienna had fallen on that day, the balance of power across Central Europe would have been transformed at its roots, and the ripple effects on Western Europe would likely have been severe. But Vienna did not fall. 20,000 cavalry changed the course of history. Recent scholarship has reframed this battle not as a simple clash of religions, but as a complex political collision between great powers. On the Ottoman side, Hungarian rebel nobles had lent their support, and the web of interest was deeply tangled. Yet the fact remains, on this day, Vienna was saved. And this battle, it is said, left behind one more legacy. Something left behind in the abandoned Ottoman encampment. A vast quantity of coffee beans. According to legend, Kolchicki, the hero who had slipped through enemy lines during the siege, received those beans and opened Vienna's first coffee house. But here, I want to be honest with you. This story is famous, but it is a place where verified primary sources and tales passed down through the generations have become intertwined. The same is true of the crescent-shaped pastry. The crescent-shaped Kipferl already existed in Austria long before 1683. The croissant as we know it today was largely shaped in the 19th century. A direct connection to that September day is difficult to establish. History is a place where fact and legend are woven together. And that, too, is proof of how deeply human beings need their stories. The charge of September 12, 1683, is spoken of as one of the greatest cavalry charges in history. 20,000 riders, at once, in one direction. And this was one of the last brilliant moments in which heavy cavalry moved history. As firearms advanced, the charge of knights clad in heavy armor faded from the stage of history, this battle among its final curtain calls. The age in which horses and lances and winged frames changed the world was drawing to a close. Heroes do not choose a glorious place to fall. They simply are in that moment, in that place. After this battle, Sobieski was consumed by the political struggles at home, and his final years were ones of hardship. He died in 1696, and Poland walked the road of decline that followed. History is cruel. The king who saved Europe could not save his own kingdom. Starhemberg was celebrated as the hero of Vienna, and his name endures through the ages. And where Kara Mustafa's tent once stood, Vienna still stands today. Now, I put a question to you. History only tells us the outcome, but those who lived it did not know the outcome. If you had been Sobieski on September 12, 1683, commanding an army of roughly 70,000 against an enemy exceeding 100,000, could you have given the order to charge? Could you have made that decision? And like Starhemberg, not knowing whether relief would ever come, could you have held the walls for 2 months? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me until the very end. The Siege of Vienna leaves us with a single question. History's turning points are built from the accumulated decisions of those whose names we never learn. Here on this channel, Turning Point History, we go deep every time into the choices and the inner lives of the people who changed history. If today's story stayed with you, subscribe and turn on notifications, and witness the next turning point together. Until next time.